Continuing with our look at Sun Belt Conference head coaches, Georgia Southern and South Alabama going to match up on Thursday night at the lovely Hancock-Whitney Stadium on October the 14th. That's 5 days after the Eagles head to Troy on October the 9th. Some fresh fish in the water from South Alabama head coach Kane Wommack entering year one, 34 years old, the youngest head coach in the country. You've probably heard that a lot, but we may as well bring it up, and nice to have you with us.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I was telling people, it's why I get away with wearing Vans with a suit and things like that. So
Pretty sharp, though.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
Pull that off. Defensive coordinator for South in 16 and 17, last couple of years in Indiana. You were a finalist for the Broyles Award last year for a tremendous Indiana season. What was it, though, that pulled you back to Mobile?
Well, we really did have – it was awesome success and really fun to be able to go through that in Indiana. But I had been at South Alabama before as a defensive coordinator. Obviously, Melissa and I fell in love with the city of Mobile. There's such a rich tradition and history and culture, coupled with all the resources that have been put into the football program in the last 3 years. I walked out of that place and came back, and there's a brand new stadium and indoor facility and
shiny new toys
and some shiny new toys to be able to show off this year.
Your dad was former defensive coordinator at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And remembering our broadcast boards from the 2 years that you were D coordinator, running the 4-2-5, of course, but talking about wolves and stingers and bandits and rovers. We don't see a lot of those names with defenses,
That's
but
right.
How did you adapt your version of the 4-2-5?
Well, that's a great question. So I was fortunate enough to work under my dad at Ole Miss when we had the number one defense in the country, and every guy under him went on to be an FBS coordinator. So fortunately, I was able to bring Corey Batoon, who was also with us at Ole Miss, as our defensive coordinator, and run that system. Things have evolved over the years, and I think that's the thing my dad taught all of us, is the system is a system, but it always has to evolve to adapt to what offenses are doing these days.
I was listening to what you were talking about with the Texas State crew just over to our right a few minutes ago, and they were asking you, with your defensive background and defensive coordinator, of if you're going to have a hand in defense, and you brought up something that I thought was pretty cool, that you kind of call yourself a detail coordinator.
Yeah. I think when you look at the head coach role, right? Certainly, I want to have a tremendous influence in not only our defense but also what we do across the board. And so my job, right, is to say, okay, whatever the vision of who we want to be offensively, defensively, special teams, my job is to hold us accountable to the detail of accomplishing that vision. And so I think that's really my role as a detail coordinator and being the head coach.
You were a defensive coordinator when you were just 26 years old at Eastern Illinois. Getting a chance to be in that kind of leadership role so early in your coaching career.
Yeah.
It almost felt like it put you on the fast track to get a position like you have now 8 years later.
No, I think that's a great point, and I don't think I would have been in this position to be a head coach, right, if I hadn't had those experiences and even in some degrees taken some lumps.
Yeah.
I learned so much in that first year of being a defensive coordinator. Last night I was hanging out with the linebackers coach for the New Orleans Saints, Mike Hodges. We were both 26 years old, both together at Eastern Illinois, and we were laughing about all the things that we learned and mistakes we made. And fortunately, we ended up having success there, and we went to the playoffs and had a good defense. And so, obviously having a father in this profession has helped me, right? The networking, I go to a coaches convention, I feel like I've been in this thing for 30 years, so but when the opportunity came, I felt like I was ready, and I think that's probably most important, just having that inner confidence.
How'd you come up with the idea of a swarm D?
Oh, that's good. So it's actually a good on Friday nights before a game, when my dad was the defensive coordinator at Southern Miss, they had these amazing defenses. In fact, his last year there, they had like 12 NFL players, so just on defense alone. But on Friday night, they would have a meeting called the Ready Break Swarm, and they would call out their plays, and they would say, interception by the safety or sack by the defensive end, and it was kind of a real high energy deal.
That's neat.
And so I thought, you know what, that's who we are, right? We're a swarming defense, and so we kind of branded ourselves as a swarm D when I got to Eastern Illinois.
One of the main guys from this unit, Keith Gallman, preseason All-League safety, third-team All-League safety last year, close to 90 tackles. He played really well in that game in Statesboro. How has he taken hold as one of the leaders of that defense?
Yeah, Keith, there's a Mobile native, that just again, he's not the longest guy out there, not necessarily the fastest, but he's just a tremendous football player. And that's what we've always tried to do. We've always tried to put smart people on the field that can create negative plays and takeaways. And he's got a real knack for disguise back there, and he's got a great knack for open field tackling. And so he's just a tremendous resource and fun for us as coaches to be able to utilize him.
Now, on the offensive side, South has had trouble putting points on the board the last 4 years. They've been 100th or worse in scoring offense 4 consecutive seasons, but you bring in Major Applewhite to run the offense, a former head coach at Houston, great quarterback at Texas, and there's a chance that the starter from a year ago, Desmond Trotter, may not even be the one to take the snaps with Jake Bentley coming in as a grad transfer from Utah.
Well, very excited about Jake Bentley coming in. We did name him our starter coming out of spring football, and here's a guy that's thrown for over 8,000 yards in the SEC. He's had a tremendous career to this point. He's got great experience, and he walked in the door at South Alabama, and he truly connected with our players. And I think that first and foremost allowed him to have the opportunity to show what he can do on the field, and certainly in Major system. I'm just so impressed with the things that we can do offensively and the creative ways that we can get our playmakers the ball, like a Jalen Tolbert, who's had tremendous success in this thing, and now we have someone in Jake Bentley as well that can delegate the ball to him.
To know that you probably have the top returning wide receiver in the country, that's a pretty cool thing to be able to boast.
Yeah, it really is. You know what's so cool about that is when I was there before, I was part of recruiting Jalen to South Alabama. So, and that was the case for a number of guys that when I was able to, come back and see these guys as freshmen and now some of the success that they've had on the field and still get to share that success with them at the back end of their career is very rewarding for me.
I know taking over as head coach at South Alabama, your first head coaching job, and a crazy time to be in college football right now. But what's been the most surprising thing for you in your first year?
I think you plan all this time for a staff meeting, and think about this, right? Everything, culture and vision for a program is so important, but everything is coming out of your head, right? And then through your mouth, and then is delegated out to the rest of the staff. And so doing that over and over and over again, but then as soon as a meeting's done, right, there's 10 other questions that come through. And so I always knew it was important to protect the time of the head coach, but you realize now in this role how important that is for the efficiency of the entire program.
What is it that excites you most about this being your first job as a head coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. We experienced this at Indiana. We were able to bring some young players in and build those guys up, and then we watched a program that had really not had much success in 113 years go to having tremendous on-field success and seeing the reward of our players' hard work. That's a great feeling as a coach to know that you contributed to that, be it from a developmental standpoint or schematically. There were some things that we did that I feel like are a little bit ahead of the game right now. And so bringing some of those experiences back down to Mobile in a place that I love deeply and having impact and knowing that our best days are ahead of us as a university and a program is a really exciting thing.
And to know you've got practically a new facility, you've got a great recruiting area, you
Right.
know the place, you know the school, it would seem that there's a lot pointing up about this situation.
Well, I think you did touch on, the fact that I was there before and I do have some connections. I know the area. I don't want to sit there and say that I hit the ground running, but certainly walking in the right direction. You know what I mean? So it does. It allows you to know that I was a part of this program and put a lot of time and energy into it. And now with all these resources that have been put in the program, to know that I get to help shape the tradition and history for an on-campus stadium and all the things that we're going to do.
Only the 13th year of football at South Alabama, but for Georgia Southern, first opportunity to see Hancock-Whitney Stadium. That'll be on Thursday night. Game on ESPNU, October the 14th, Eagles and Jaguars. Great getting to meet you. Congratulations on the job, and we'll see you here in a couple months.
All right. Look forward to it.
Appreciate it.
See you.